I, Serena, 26, solvent, presentable, and, if the mirror is to be believed, easy on the eyes, am now staring down the biggest bankruptcy of my life. Not my company, my family's. My father, a straight-arrow businessman who hustled for 3 decades, walked into a rigged deal. Overnight the cash flow tap snapped shut and liquidation loomed. In 72 hours his hair went salt and pepper to full snow. While we were pricing furniture and Googling storage units for the ancestral house, the phone rang. It was the Caldwells. The Caldwells, Riverdale's answer to royalty, the family that can move markets with a lazy shrug. Before we go any further, smash that subscribe button and drop your city in the comments. Mom took the call. I watched her face cycle from shocked to skeptical, to elated, to something way more complicated. She hung up and stared at me, working her mouth like a goldfish. Sweetheart, the Caldwells want a marriage alliance. With you. The sip of water I'd just managed went down the wrong pipe. Which Caldwell? The Crown Prince one? Yes. Adrian. Adrian. The name felt like a rusty key ramming into the lock buried deepest in my chest, twisting hard enough to hurt. The secret I'd glued inside sophomore notebooks and sketchpads for 3 straight years, the boy who always parked himself in the front row, rail thin, profile so clean you could have drafted it with a ruler. Faded uniform, never looked up, never cared about the noise. I parked myself in the back row, pretending to draw, spending 3 years sketching the back of his head, coward's camouflage. I assumed our orbits were done. He vanished after graduation. The next time I saw him he'd morphed into the icy-eyed titan on the cover of Financial, cufflinks glinting like warning lights. I'd gone the opposite direction, antique restorer, happiest alone with cracked porcelain and mildewed scrolls. Why? My throat rasped. They'll cover every hole in the Vance balance sheet, if you marry in. Mom's eyes GL. Owed with hope and guilt in equal measure. Got it. Not an alliance. A sale. Trade my lifetime for the family ledger. I stayed quiet so long her eyes watered. Then I smiled. Fine. I'll marry him. A wedding's a wedding. And if the groom happens to be the guy you quietly adored for 3 years, call it a small rebate. Even if he has no clue who I am. 3 days later I faced Adrian across an ebony table at Avalon. He looked thinner than in the magazines, and colder. A charcoal bespoke suit framed shoulders that seemed to repel gravity, and people. Vance, he opened, voice frostbitten. Caldwell, I answered, polite as a board meeting. He slid a folder toward me. Prenup. 1 year. When Vance is stable, we divorce. You keep the hillside and 50 million cash. Every syllable carried a chill. I flipped through the clauses, clean, surgical, 0 sentiment. One line even read, physical contact only when strictly necessary. The last ember of my high school daydream winked out. Good. Clean is survivable. I have one question. I met his midnight eyes. Why me? His lashes dropped, shadowing the skin beneath. You're the most suitable. Suitable slammed the door on curiosity. I signed. Serena. 2 reckless flourishes, like I was autographing a dare. Chapter 2, License Day Weather, cloudless, offensive blue sky. Adrian's car nosed up to city at 9 sharp. He unfolded from the driver's seat, razor creased as ever, expression set to default blank. I slid into the passenger side, first ride in his Maybach. The cabin smelled faintly of cedar, same as his skin. We didn't speak a syllable. Inside, the photographer chirped, snuggle up, smile, big day, folks. I manufactured a mannequin grin. Adrian stayed statue still. I could feel the rigidity radiating off him. Click. 1 official photo, groom glacial, bride paralyzed. When the clerk handed over the crimson marriage certificate, I felt nothing beyond task complete. Mission accomplished, Caldwell. I wiggled the booklet. H. He flicked his gaze to it, throat jerking once, then fished out his own copy. Hold them together. Easier. I dropped both into my bag, they weighed a ton. Our marital address is the minimalist fortress described in the contract, hillside. Monochrome palette, 0 warmth. Uncle the house manager greeted me with grandfatherly courtesy. Caldwell, you're sweet. I stepped inside, and blinked. Pastel walls, plush wool carpet, filmy drapes, sun-drenched window seat heaped with throw pillows straight off my secret Pinterest board. For one ridiculous heartbeat I wondered, does he remember? I murdered the thought. Coincidence, or hired investigator? Nothing more. Night. Post-shower, I lay in bed reading. Knock. Adrian, hair still damp, sweatshirt softening the daytime edges. Stomach trouble, right? Uncle made millet porridge. He proffered a tray. Senior year stress ulcer, only my best friend Livy knew. How could? Thanks. I accepted, pulse sprinting. Sleep early, he said, retreating fast. I spooned the warm porridge, every swallow soothing, every heartbeat loud. Once as accident. Twice as, Adrian, who are you, really? Chapter 3 Day 3, Customary Bride's Home Dinner. Protocol expects both newlyweds, the prenup says only if optics demand. Morning, I drift downstairs and find Adrian already immaculately armed, reading financial at the table. I'm heading to my parents', I flag. He glances over the paper. I'll drive. You'll come in? Want the Vances broadcasting that it's a paper marriage? A flick of sardonic ice. No retort possible. En route the sky breaks into sheets of rain. Maybach glides to a stop, droplets drum the glass. Adrian unbuckles, opens an umbrella, rounds to my door. 1 second I'm dry, next I'm under a tiny black canopy, his left shoulder darkening to indigo as rainwater soaks through. Hurry, he nudges. Inside, parents light up like Christmas. Dad, flush with rescued solvency, pumps Adrian's hand repeatedly. At table Mom heaps Adrian's PLA. Tea. Try this braised pork belly, honey, my specialty. My chopsticks freeze. Adrian avoids fat, another nugget from my stalker scrapbook. I start to intervene, Adrian already lifts his bowl. Thank you, Mom. He chews and swallows without a twitch. I gape. He catches me, lifts a brow. I dive into my rice, and will my pulse to behave. Departure. Rain quieted to neon reflections. I break first. You don't eat fat. He keeps eyes on the road. Yet your mom served it. The unthinking mom detonates inside the cabin. Silence blooms, thick and humming. I watch Riverdale's lights smear across the window and admit it, Adrian is turning into a question I need answered. Chapter 4 I spend my days at Sterling mending relics, quiet, fragrant work. Colleagues know I got married, only my boss and Livy know to whom. Livy shrieked through the phone. Serena, this is straight K-drama. Contract marriage with your dream guy? Girl, thaw that iceberg. I rolled my eyes. He carved no touching into stone. You're fire, he's ice, physics happens. Physics isn't hiring. Friday, I'm bent over a Ming landscape when Chase, Sterling's golden boy curator in training, leans in. Serena, new French place tonight? Join me. Dimples, hopeful eyes. I'm crafting a polite no when the door swings wide. Adrian, stormcloud coat, city rumor aura. Every conservator swivels. His gaze finds me, and Chase beside me, then locks, unreadable. The air in the room seemed to drop several degrees. I'm here to pick up my wife. He spoke quietly, yet every person in the studio heard him. The word wife rang out crystal clear. Chase's smile froze on his face. The other women wore expressions that ran the full spectrum, shock, disbelief, jaws practically on the floor. My scalp prickled. What was he doing here? The contract never said anything about him collecting me after work. M. Caldwell? Chase clearly recognized him, voice stammering. Adrian ignored him and walked straight to me. He slipped off his TR-ench coat and draped it around my shoulders. It's turned cold outside, and you're barely dressed. The scolding tone was gentle, the gesture even softer. The coat still carried his body heat and that faint cedar scent, wrapping me up in an instant. I stood there, dumbstruck. What on earth was this? An act? For whose benefit, Chase's? Let's go home, he said, naturally threading his fingers through mine. His palm was dry, warm, the bones distinct, a thin layer of callous telling of years of restraint. The moment he held my hand, my heartbeat lost its rhythm entirely. I practically marched out of the studio, left foot right foot out of sync with myself. Behind us, Chase and the rest of the staff stared like statues. Only once I was in the car did I find my voice. What was that all about? He started the engine, the profile of his face looked carved from stone in the dusk. Fulfilling a husband's duty. There's no clause like that. I protested. He suddenly turned, his dark eyes bottomless. There is now. Bulldozer voice, no room for argument. Serena, remember, for the next year you are my wife. I don't want to see you entangled with any other man. The possessiveness in his gaze stunned me. That wasn't the look a contractual husband should give. More like jealousy? The idea jolted me. Chapter 5 The fallout from Adrian's jealousy propelled me straight into the spotlight of Riverdale high society. A week later came the Caldwell anniversary gala. As Caldwell, I had to attend. Uncle had flown in a top-tier styling team days in advance to custom-fit a gown, hair, and makeup. That night I stepped into the glittering ballroom in a starlight blue backless gown, my hand tucked into Adrian's elbow. Every flashbulb and every eye snapped toward us at once. Adrian acted as if cameras didn't exist, escorting me through the crowd without once looking sideways. His palm stayed glued to the small of my back, its heat seared through the thin silk and made my skin angle. Halfway through, I slipped to the powder room. On my return I detoured past a quiet balcony and found Chase there. He'd come with his father. "Little Jean," he called, eyes conflicted. "You're really married?" I nodded. Words died in his throat. I tried to leave, but he suddenly stepped forward and caught my wrist. "Little Jean, he's wrong for you. Adrian is ice cold, you'll never be happy with him." I frowned, tried to yank free, he only tightened his grip. A frigid voice cut in behind me. "Let her go." I spun around. Adrian stood a few paces away, face so dark it looked wet. How long had he been there? The ballroom's chandeliers glowed at his back, haloing him in gold yet failing to thaw the frost in his eyes. Chase flinched and instinctively released me. Adrian strode over, pulling me behind him with unchallengeable force. He skewered Chase with a razor-sharp stare. "My wife's happiness is not your concern." Chase colored and paled by turns. "President Caldwell, I only care about little Jean, she is Caldwell." Adrian sliced him off. "Chase, watch your words and your distance." Without another glance he hauled me away. His grip bruised, I winced the entire walk to a rear lounge. The door slammed, cutting off the music. He pinned me against it, palms braced on either side, caging me between the wood and his chest. He bent until his hot breath fanned my cheek. "Serena, do you think our contract is toilet paper?" Anger vibrated in his low voice, his chest rose and fell fast. "I didn't know? Then why wrap yourself around him? Do you like him that much?" Each accusation pelted me like gravel. I snapped. "Get reasonable." He grabbed me. I trust only what I see." A storm swirled behind his irises. "Forgotten whose wife you are?" "I haven't." I shouted back. "I remember the paper, divorce in 1 year. So what right do you have policing who I talk to?" That flipped a switch, his pupils contracted. Next second he bent and crushed his mouth to mine. Chapter 6. My brain detonated into white noise. Adrian's kiss was nothing like the man himself. Not cold, scorching, wildfire with a tinge of frantic despair. He pried my lips open, plundered, gave me no air. The familiar cedar mingled with a faint bite of whiskey, flooding every sense. My knees buckled. Non-essential physical contact prohibited. The contract clause flickered and died. I shoved at his chest. He didn't budge, only banded me tighter, as though he'd fuse me to his bones. Panicking, I bit down hard. Coppery warmth bloomed between us. He grunted, finally let go. I dragged in ragged breaths. He swiped the corner of his split lip, scarlet dotted his fingertip. Staring at the blood, his gaze turned unreadable. Silence roared, only our breathing filled the room. "You've lost your mind." My voice shook. He said nothing, just kept looking, until the tempest in his eyes ebbed into bottomless fatigue. "Sorry," he rasped. I lost control. Then he opened the door and walked out. I slid down the panel and sat on the cold floor, fingers brushing my swollen lips, tasting him and iron. My heart was tangled twine. That kiss had shattered our flimsy shell. I couldn't pretend this was a transaction any longer. Adrian felt something. But why? If he did, why the contract? Why the cold front? Question marks whirled like snowflakes. I don't remember getting back to the manor. Adrian never reappeared. I lay in my princess bedroom, eyes open until sunrise. Next morning Uncle told me the master had flown to Europe for a week. I answered unsure if I felt relief or loss. Fine, space to cool off. Chapter 7. With Adrian away, the manor felt hollow. I poured everything into work. Liv called, buzzing like she'd won the lottery. "Jean. Damn, your Caldwell made trending topics. Caldwell CEO shields wife, slaps down rival. The photo of him guarding you is straight alpha. Spill, are you two method acting or method loving?" I kneaded my temples. "Can you focus elsewhere?" "Elsewhere? He internet is CSING the mysterious Caldwell. Some say you saved a galaxy. Tell me, fireworks last night?" I went quiet. "Fireworks." The coppery kiss replayed in HD. "Serena?" Liv pinged. "Don't say something did happen?" I sighed and recounted the encore. Liv absorbed it in rare silence. Just as I thought she'd dropped signal, she went full Sherlock. "Got it." "Got what?" "Your husband is running peak drama, love you but can't say style. Mark me, he's tortured. He loves you. Silently. Madly. Deeply." I groaned. "Liv, enough K-dramas. It's woman's intuition," she insisted. "Think, anti-fat guy scarfs pork for you, clean drapes his coat, Iceman publicly jealous then steals a kiss. Tell me that's not love and I'll spell my name backward. Then why the prenup, why freeze me out? That's your core conflict, silly. Your mission, decode him. Go, Pikachu. I hung up, half laughing, half dizzy. Ridiculous, yet her words skipped stones across my mind. Did Adrian have a reason? The thought took root like ivy. I began combing memories, high school silhouette, earlobes pink when he sipped water I handed him, graduation day eyes that almost spoke. Had I missed something? Chapter 8, Fifth day of Adrian's trip, a work crisis hit. The final glaze on a Song Dynasty roux I was restoring demanded a lost ingredient. Formula extinct, I'd burnt night oil over vats of failed Celadone tests. The collector was picky and the deadline breathing down my neck. Late afternoon, boss called me to his office. Inside waited a man in a tailored suit, Sean, Adrian's assistant. Serena. Sean rose politely. Surprised, I asked, Sean? President Caldwell sent me. He offered a velvet-lined box. He spotted this at a small European sale, thought it might help. I lifted the lid. A dull pebble? I held it to the light, and gasped. Agate. The vanished, text-only secret to the roux sky blue glaze, agate flux. I jerked my head up and stared at Sean. How did he know I needed this? Sean smiled, kind that says I can't spill, but you get it. Caldwell keeps an eye on your work. He read that paper you published in college, your write-up on reverse engineering roux glazes. He still remembers it. Something slammed into my chest. That paper was a relic from my senior year, buried in a half-dead journal so obscure I'd practically forgotten it myself. He'd actually read it? And remembered? Vance, Sean continued, about the client, no worries. Caldwell spoke to them, they've agreed to extend your deadline indefinitely, no strings. Take all the time you need. Words failed me completely. That collector was famous for being impossible. Adrian fixed it with one phone call? How many invisible things has he done for me? After Sean left, I sat in the studio alone, the wooden box in my lap, for a long, long while. Sunlight poured through the window and landed on the agate, its warm luster refracting across the room. The stone felt like him, plain on the outside, priceless within. And my heart, caught in that beam, felt both scorched and soothed. Chapter 9. With that piece of agate, my stalled project rocketed forward. 3 days later I cracked the lost Song Dynasty sky blue glaze. When the roux washer emerged from the kiln, its dreamy, post-storm azure drew gasps from everyone in the studio. I stared at the fruit of months of labor, pride swelling inside me, sweet, fizzy, and completely new. Half of that pride belonged to Adrian. He returned the following evening. The moment I heard tires on the gravel, my pulse lurched and I flew down the stairs. He stepped in cloaked with travel fatigue, eyes bloodshot, jaw stubbled, the sharp edges softened into something dangerously sexy. You're home. I hovered at the foot of the staircase, suddenly shy. Seeing me, he paused, then the weariness in his gaze drained away. Yeah. He toed off his shoes. How's the project going? The faint scab where I'd bitten him still rode the corner of his mouth. My cheeks flamed. Perfect. Thank you. I produced a small wrapped box from behind my back. This is for you. He lifted the lid, a miniature teacup I'd thrown and glazed in the identical sky blue, a pocket-sized echo of the roux. He cradled it under the light, long fingers accentuating the delicate hue. Beautiful. He lifted his gaze, starlight seemed to swirl in the dark irises, my first unfiltered compliment from him. My heartbeat cartwheeled. Go shower, I'll scrounge up food, I said, fleeing toward the kitchen. He caught my wrist. Serena, he rasped, are you still mad at me? I'm not. Then why avoid me? He tugged me a step closer, cedar and road dust filled my senses. I swallowed. I wasn't dodging him, I was running from my own runaway heart. He sighed. I'm sorry about that night. Won't happen again. His knuckles brushed my hair, voice wrapped in a vulnerability I'd never heard. Instantly I melted. It's okay, I overreacted. A slow smile broke across his face, winter thawing into spring, and I forgot how to breathe. Never tasted your noodles, he teased. All right. I'll fix that now. I bolted. Low laughter followed me, drumming inside my ribcage like a second heart. Lily was right, this man is pure poison. Chapter 10. After that night the air between us shifted. He was still quiet, but his gaze carried a softness that hadn't existed before. I mentioned craving a specific pâtisserie cake. Next morning it sat on the breakfast table. My favorite sketching pens ran dry. By dusk a full set of replacements waited in the drawer. Tiny, silent gestures, seeping through my defenses like warm water around a frog. I began to wonder if Lily's wild guess could be true. Does Adrian secretly love me? The thought electrified and terrified me. I needed proof. One afternoon Lily pinged me on WhatsApp. Serena, look at this, think it's your man's private Twitter? I opened the link. Handle, Yen Yen Yugue. Avatar, a blurred star field. Yen, Adrian's name. Yugue, from the Book of Songs, T. He bride comes home, right for the household. My stomach flipped. I scrolled. The account was 8 years old. She smiled at me today. The way she paints, can't look away. She handed me her half-empty water bottle. Breath frozen, I realized, every post matched our high school moments. Me smiling at him. Me sketching behind the gym. Me offering my unfinished water after his basketball game. I'd assumed I was invisible to him, he'd captured each instant in pixels. Post stopped after graduation, then resumed 3 years ago. She's back. Saw her at the auction, more radiant than ever. She doesn't remember me. 3 years ago, exactly when I'd returned from grad school overseas. Tears blurred my vision. He hadn't forgotten, I had. No, forgotten isn't right. 17-year-old me was too timid to believe a star like him would notice a wallflower like me. His abrupt departure had felt like answer enough. I reached the final tweet, posted the night he'd kissed me. I miss her so much. Through the screen I felt the ache he'd throttled down for years. This 7-year crush wasn't my solo act. It was mutual, both of us too cowardly to step into the spotlight. Chapter 11. I closed the browser, heart a chaotic blend of shock, euphoria, ache, regret, too many colors on one palette. Adrian, my Adrian, had quietly carried me in his heart all this time. That evening I waited on the living room sofa, lights off, moonlight dappling the floor. Why sit in the dark? He asked, flicking on the entry light. I stayed silent, watching him kick off his shoes and approach. What's wrong? He crouched in front of me, voice low with concern. Feel sick? He reached for my forehead, I caught his hand. Adrian, I whispered, what does Yen Yen Yugue mean? He froze, composure fracturing into raw panic. He tried to pull back, I held tighter. Why lie to me? Tears cracked my voice. You remembered. You liked me. So why pretend we were strangers? Why that tract? His lashes drooped, shielding every emotion. Serena, look at me. I cupped his chin, forcing eye contact. Explain. His eyes reddened, something I'd never seen. The unshakable titan looked like a scolded child, fragile enough to break. I was scared I'd scare you, he confessed hoarsely. Graduation day I meant to confess, but Dad's heart attack ripped me overseas. I left without a word. Years later I came back, 5 of them gone. I was terrified you'd moved on. So I watched from afar. The Caldwell crisis, you're doing, wasn't it? I suddenly understood. Silence equaled admission. You engineered everything to force me to marry you? I could barely grasp it. I'd run out of runway, he said, voice shredded. Watching Chase orbit you drove me insane. Despicable, I know, but I couldn't lose you again. He pressed my palm over his heart. Since the first time I saw you, it's beaten only for you. All my bottled hurt, doubt, and resentment drained away. I cradled his face and, surprising us both, kissed him hard. Chapter 12. No anger, no games, just tenderness and fire. I followed his earlier lead, tracing the seam of his lips until they parted. Rigid with shock at first, he soon tangled fingers in my hair and took over, demanding yet reverent, as if I might vanish. When I smiled against his mouth, he growled, swept me onto his lap, and kissed me until the moon slid across the sky, an unspoken vow that the waiting, the hiding, the almost losing was finally over. We kissed our way from the couch to the rug, then from the rug up the stairs. By the time I came back to Earth, he'd already carried me into his bedroom. It was the first time I'd ever stepped inside. Same as mine, pure monochrome, black-white-gray minimalism, except for one thing that didn't belong at all. A huge glass display case. No priceless antiques, no scale models, just paintings, sketches, watercolors, oils. Only one subject in every frame. Me. Me in high school uniform, ponytail swinging. Me in the studio, streaks of paint on my cheeks. Me in the college library, reading by the window. Me back from abroad, in a blazer, working at Sterling. In the corner of each canvas, he yen. My heart felt dunked in honey, sticky sweet and aching. You. I turned, voice cracking. You painted all of these? These are just the ones I kept. He slipped his arms around me from behind, chin on my shoulder, voice low and magnetic. Every day I couldn't be with you, I survived by putting you on canvas. I spun around and hugged him so tight my ribs hurt. Adrian, you idiot. Colossal idiot. Yeah, I'm an idiot. He buried his face in the crook of my neck, words muffled. So can this idiot finally keep you? My face exploded in heat. I answered with action instead of words. I went up on tiptoe and kissed him again. We didn't sleep a wink. Sunlight was slipping through the curtains when I woke curled against his chest. Adrian was still asleep, breathing slow and even. I traced his brows, the bridge of his nose, the curve of his mouth. My boy. The one I'd loved for years. Now he's my husband. I was lost in the view when his lashes fluttered and those dark eyes opened. We stared. Sleepy haze melted into tenderness so thick it pooled. Morning, he rasped, sexy rough. Morning. I flushed. He tucked me closer and kissed my forehead. Sore? It took me a second to catch his meaning. I buried my flaming face in his chest. He laughed, the vibration traveling straight into my heart. Serena, he said, serious now, let's get married again. Huh? I lifted my head. Last time was a deal. This time I want a real wedding, just ours. His gaze held mine, unwavering. My eyes stung. Okay. I nodded hard. Once the window paper tore, Adrian's shattered. The aloof CEO vanished overnight, replaced by a clingy, jealous, golden retriever. He drives me to work, picks me up, and video calls at lunch to audit my nutrient intake. One afternoon Chase and I discuss a project in the hallway. Adrian sees us on the call. He hangs up without a word. 30 minutes later his Maybach glides to Sterling's entrance. In front of gawking colleagues he strides in with a giant thermal pot. Honey, I brought your love bento. His grin is audible for blocks. I want to evaporate. Chase looks like he swallowed a fly. Female coworkers inhale enviously. In the break room Adrian unpacks 4 dishes and a soup, every one my favorite. Eat up, I cooked. He presses chopsticks into my hand, starving for praise. A fresh band-aid circles his finger. I'm equal parts exasperated and soft. Adrian, are you 5? Don't care. He plops beside me, human-sized backpack. Who is he? Why so close? What were you saying? Death trio interrogation. We were talking work. Work doesn't need airspace, he decrees. From now on, conversations with him cap at 3 minutes, no, 60 seconds. His vinegar tone cracks me up. Fine, President he. I spear a sweet and sour rib and feed it to him. He glows, licking his lips, eyes scorching. Ribs aren't enough. I still want to eat you. I turn scarlet, public place, and shovel rice to hide. Adrian doesn't just cuddle and sulk, he flexes PDA. The man who never posted now turns Instagram into my personal portfolio. My girl, saving history one brushstroke at a time. Side profile of me restoring Ruware. She says this cake is the one. Me, frosting on my nose. Good night, my entire universe. Me asleep on his arm. Comments detonate. His childhood buddies queue up. Bro, you get hacked? Where's the Ice King we know? The stench of love slaps me through the screen. My bestie Leah floods my WhatsApp. Serena. I'm deceased. Your CEO is lethal. Gimme oxygen. I'm mortified and floating. Adrian, oblivious, escalates. He changes our game handles to couple names. He's Serena S. Knight, I'm Knight S. Serena. Any male player who types babe to me gets hunted across 9 maps until they delete their accounts. His juvenile rap sheet is endless, yet I adore every line, because Ben. Eat the antics lies a love he guarded for 7 long years. One evening we hit the supermarket, 2 rookies stuffing the cart like kids. Checkout line snakes forever. Bored, I rise on tiptoe to peck his cheek. Height difference betrays me, only his jaw meets my lips. He bends, kisses me proper, eyes sparkling. Trying to sneak a kiss, wifey? Was not. He scoops me into the cart so we're face level. Laughter ripples around us, I'm tomato red. He nuzzles my ear. Serena, I love you. Heartbeat cannon, I whisper back, Adrian, I love you too, have loved you my whole youth. We throw the wedding fate owed us, an island under blue skies and bluer sea. I walk barefoot in white satin, each step taking me to my boy waiting beneath a floral arch, ivory suit blinding. His eyes hold a beam labeled Serena. The ring he slides on isn't a rock but a band etched inside, Yan's homecoming. Tears burst. No crying, he murmurs, wiping them. Today's our day. I sniff, laugh. Caldwell, I echo his old line, waving the ring, pleasure doing business. He grins, pulls me close. Caldwell, term length this time, life. Married life is ordinary magic. We ditch the cold manor for a sunny place with a balcony garden. Adrian still swamped, Yet he's home every night, rustling up dinner, culinary disasters I cherish. He reads or sketches me while I work, his portraits keep improving, my smile growing softer. We fight, over me ogling a barista, over his secret after-work drinks, but storms never last 10 minutes. He surrenders first, muttering sorry and I love you into my neck until I melt. The man owns me completely. Tonight, curled on the couch for an old romance, I tear up. We lost so many years, I whisper. He kisses my forehead. Not lost, waiting. Thank you for waiting, Serena. Thank you for never giving up on me. As long as the ending is you, time is never late. Moonlight drifts in, love lingers heavy and sweet. Thanks for listening. If you liked the story, hit like, share with friends. And tell us your thoughts below. Subscribe for more. See you next time.